Failed former President Donald Trump spoke at the NRA convention over the weekend, and it was as insane as you can imagine. But the backdrop can't be ignored. A backdrop where we have mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting, and the NRA continues to funnel money to those elected officials who are willing to insist we should do nothing about guns. The problem is something else. It's anything but guns we're willing to talk about. Almost blood money at this point that these people are taking from the NRA. And Trump shows up and cheerleads guns and instead says, what about trans and cannabis as explanations for shootings? And the backdrop of all of this is more and more mass shootings. If you look just the last few days, a mass shooting yesterday in Biloxi, Mississippi, and a whole bunch of them, more than 5 on Saturday in Kentucky, California, Alabama. Mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting. And Donald Trump speaks to the NRA like they're anything short of, quite frankly, I think we have to call it an evil group at this point in time. I really am careful with the language. What evil? I mean, wow. What other word can we use at this point to characterize this organization? And Donald Trump shows up, says nothing about we might want to restrict some people's access to some guns, and instead says we need a panel to look at whether trans and cannabis cause mass shootings.
To convene an independent outside panel to investigate whether transgender hormone treatments and ideology increase the risk of extreme depression, aggression, and even violence. I think most of us already know the answer, don't we?
Do we?
Furthermore,
really? You know, that's one of those funny little it's a throwaway line. I think most of us know the answer. You don't know the answer. No one in that room has data to say trans ideology causes mass shootings. But Trump says, we should investigate it, but like we kind of know the answer already.
We have to look at whether common psychiatric drugs as well as genetically engineered cannabis and other narcotics are causing psychotic breaks. A lot of problems. We're having problems that we've never seen before, and people sort of think they understand why. We must also be much better at detecting warning signs of evil, disturbed young men like the one who murdered colleagues in Louisville. We cannot rest until we get to the bottom of all of the sickness that we're seeing in our country.
I mean, listen, at least he's conceding that most of these events are carried out by young men. I guess that's something of an acknowledgement of reality. But he also raises this idea of psychiatric drugs as causing mass shootings. This is usually these folks who talk about this are more specific and they'll actually say SSRIs. This is something that has been explored. And of course, the difficulty with looking at something like that is, first of all, there are so many people that are on those medications that it can be very difficult to find causality. But also, you have to be looking at the possibility, if you were to find some correlation, you have to consider, well, it's the folks, the characteristics that got them put on the drugs are what could be responsible for their actions rather than the drugs themselves. That's also extraordinarily difficult to study, but they don't care. That's not, if you sit Trump down and try to explain that to him, you're not going to get any kind of good faith response. Trump then goes on a rant about refrigerators and air conditioners being shoplifted, I guess.
When you see these gangs of hundreds of young, usually young people, go and attack an department store in San Francisco and Los Angeles and Chicago, and they run in by the hundreds and they're running out carrying refrigerators and carrying air conditioners and big stuff, big, little, everything. Fur coats, non-fur coat, everything they carry.
Non-fur coats, or as we might call them, coats. Carrying, and again, remember, to really understand the sick and evil nature of this, you have to understand the entire context here. Oh, people in San Francisco, they're just shoplifting fridges. The context is we need the guns. We need the guns to defend ourselves and others and so on and so forth. A crazy speech. And even I mean, listen, the audience at these things is pretty cuckoo, but even this audience was sort of lukewarm on the nonsense that was spilling out of Donald Trump's mouth. Another strange moment during Trump's NRA speech, he displayed tweets which show him ahead of other Republican presidential candidates.
In a two-way poll of Florida last week, it was Trump 47 and DeSantis 32%.
DeSantis.
And there was another poll in Florida where Trump was at 80 and DeSantis was at 50, and that's a Florida poll. In Texas, it's Trump 52%, DeSantis.
Understand that Trump essentially brought a PowerPoint to the NRA convention. That's what we've got right now. It's a glorified PowerPoint to gun nuts.
20, Pence 5, Haley 4. You know, the only way we can lose is if we go prevent defense. Do you agree? Do you know what that means, right? In football, where they're holding the team to no score, and then they go prevent the last 2 minutes, and they lose the game. We will never go prevent, but you can take a look.
There you go. And Trump notably very, very familiarized with sports. Sports, he's a big sports guy. Trump also capping the completely unhinged, deranged, and delusional, and dangerous, I might add, NRA speech, claiming that there is a Marxist revolution going on. And you might say, like, in what country? He means here in the United States.
Congress has to step up and stop this Marxist revolution in its tracks. We have a Marxist revolution going on, and I think you're starting to see it. And we have to stop it fast. This is what we must do to save our country.
So anyway, Mark, you know, the entire Marxist meme from the right, it's quite laughable. And to me, the funniest part about it is if you actually say to them, what is Marxism? They don't have a clue. They just don't have any idea. And anybody who knows what Marxism is, only if you had no clue what it was, might you think that there was Marxism in the United States in any kind of position of even any power or influence whatsoever. But of course, there are no Marxists in positions of power in the House or Senate or federal government. I mean, it's crazy. So top line, the most disturbing thing is that Trump is still going and speaking to the NRA like they're a good organization. That's the top line. Subsequent to that is the content and the subject matter from Trump's speech. And that's horrifying in and of itself. And they've gone fully in on we're not touching guns. Mental health, I don't know, yeah, mental health, but we won't fund it. Let's look at mental health. Culture, Marxism, transgender, cannabis, SSRIs. But the guns, certainly not a factor whatsoever. Dangerous, and it's not going to change anytime soon. When you're using websites and apps, your device sends out data about you into the open. Who you are, where you go, things you like. That data then gets sold around for advertising purposes, which is why every time I connect to the internet, I use a VPN to hide my IP address. And our sponsor, Private Internet Access, is the most trustworthy VPN on the market. It's the only VPN that has proven multiple times in court they don't log your activity. Private Internet Access protects you from the prying eyes of hackers, your internet service provider, tech companies. Private Internet Access is also super fast for streaming and for downloads. You can watch your favorite streaming platforms as if you're in another country, like the UK, to access cool new content. And with just one account, you can protect unlimited devices all at the same time. This is really a game changer. Private Internet Access is giving my audience 83% off. That's $203 a month, plus 4 months free. Go to piavpn.com/Pacman. The link is down below.